By now you may know that there's a group of self-help influencers who tend to plug each other's projects and stroke each other's egos. This group talks constantly to each other on podcasts, write reviews for each other's books, and often speak at the same predatory MLM conferences. So whenever I see an event or a product that features at least several of these personal development gurus, I get suspicious. Meanwhile, in the last several years, I've also noticed a surprising group of YouTubers all of a sudden explaining their behavior through colorful medical charts.
So this is what my brain looks like.
So what do all these people have in common?
The answer is psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Amen of the Amen Clinics.
But SPECT imaging taught me that I had to look at his brain and not throw darts in the dark at him to understand what he needed.
Getting your brain scanned by Dr. Amen seems to be on the bingo card for people who teach from the Toxic Positivity Playbook.
Many of Dr. Amen's colleagues in the psychiatric field have criticized his methods and are asking for more proof that brain scanning is helpful in diagnosing and treating mental illness. But who needs proof when you have endorsements like this?
Brain scan on 3. 1, 2, 3,
brain scan!
In this video, I'm going to break down the reasons why I and others believe Amen clinics are more hype than help. Speaking of things that help, thank you to the sponsor of this video, Atlas VPN. I talk a lot about self-help influencers who overshare their entire lives with the internet. And that's why I like Atlas VPN, because they're all about protecting your privacy. Click the special link in the description below and get access to this Atlas VPN special deal for 82% off. Atlas VPN also stops ads and malware, as well as blocks all malicious links, ads, and trackers. They'll also notify you if someone's trying to steal your data. And when I need a break from being a hater on the internet, Atlas VPN allows me to get comfy and stream Netflix at lightning fast speed. And with Atlas VPN, you can protect unlimited devices with a single subscription. And I can't leave this part out. You can also save money while shopping online. Atlas VPN helps you get the best deals, including online subscriptions like Netflix and Spotify, as well as airlines, hotels, and more. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.99 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Time is running out, so again, click the special link in the description and get access to this Atlas VPN special deal for 82% off. Now let's get back to the video.
Dr. Daniel Amen is 67 years old and became a double board certified psychiatrist in 1988. According to The Observer, he went to a small evangelical Christian college in California, spent 3 years in the Army after high school as an X-ray technician, and received his medical degree from the now defunct Oral Roberts Medical School.
Still, his credentials are legit, and I'm not saying that Dr. Amen isn't smart or is lying about his training at all.
Like I said, Dr. Amen is a psychiatrist, and according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, he is one of more than 25,000 practicing in the U.S. as of 2020. But Dr. Amen is one of the most controversial. In 2016, Jeffrey Lieberman, who is the head of the psychiatry department at the Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons, said, quote, "Basically, he's conning people." Dr. Harriet Hall, who is a former Air Force flight surgeon and a prominent blogger on medical scams, also told The Observer that Dr. Amen, quote, "charges patients thousands of dollars to inject them with radioactive compounds and show them pretty colored pictures of their brains without any credible evidence that it adds to the diagnostic or treatment process."
Injections, pretty colored pictures? I'll explain this all in the next section. As someone who has seen several psychiatrists throughout my life, some were great, some were okay, and some were pretty bad in my opinion. But literally none of them asked to scan my brain. And according to Dr. Amen, that's a problem.
Why are psychiatrists the only medical doctors who virtually never look at the organ they treat? Cardiologists look, neurologists look, orthopedic doctors look. In fact, all other medical specialists look, but psychiatrists are handicapped and make diagnoses based on whatever symptoms you report. Can you really imagine a future of psychiatry without looking at the brain?
I can totally see how people can listen to him and say, yeah, wow, he's right, sign me up and scan me down, doc. But psychiatry is a complicated field.
Most psychiatrists use a mix of interviewing the patient, looking at symptom clusters, and family history, as well as medicine trial and error to determine what treatment is best. Do I think that's an amazing system? No. But I don't think the solution is pseudoscience either. And it's extremely important to note that according to their website, the Amen Clinic's method uses SPECT scans along with a detailed clinical history, neuropsychological testing, and diagnostic lab tests when necessary to help us better understand you and your brain.
But SPECT scans are what set Dr. Amen apart from his colleagues.
SPECT basically tells us three things: good activity, too little, or too much. And then our job is to balance the brain. So the image on the left, we're looking down from the top, shows full, even, symmetrical activity. The color's not important, it's the shape that matters, and it helps us see healthy and low areas of activity.
SPECT stands for Single Photon Emission Computed Tomography. The scan requires patients to get an injection of a radioisotope, which is radioactive, before being scanned by a large MRI-like machine. And most of these patients get scanned twice on 2 different days. According to their website, the 2 scans allow them to evaluate changes in brain blood flow patterns from a resting state to a concentration state.
Now, let's not get outrageous about the radiation part, however. It's not a Chernobyl situation, and some radiation is not inherently harmful to the body. But why put yourself through something like that unless it's 100% necessary?
According to a Washington Post article from 2012, Dr. Amen uses SPECT scans as a diagnostic tool in 90% of his patients.
That's a huge percentage, given that some of the ailments Amen clinics claim to treat are relatively mild, like weight issues, brain optimization, and relationship conflicts.
But he also claims that many of his patients come to his clinic as a last resort.
I had a guy that was severely depressed. He had ECT, he'd been hospitalized, electric shock therapy. He had been hospitalized multiple times, he was suicidal. He said to me, "You're my last hope." I get that a lot. That's a little bit stressful for me.
On the frequently asked questions section of the website, one of the questions is, some physicians say, I don't need a scan for diagnosis, I can tell clinically. Is this true? The answer listed says, often well-trained physicians can tell clinically, but that is not when you order a SPECT scan. You order scans when you are confused, the patient hasn't responded to your best treatment, or the patient's situation is complicated.
So let me get this straight. You only order a scan when the case is complicated. So why would you say this?
My second wife, when I met her, I knew I wasn't going to fall in love with her until I saw her brain. And 2 weeks later, because I really liked her.
So what does that mean? You like her, like, oh, but she needs to get scanned first before I say I'm yours.
Yes, absolutely. And if you date any of my children for 4 months, if I think you're going to stick around, I scan you. I'm not kidding.
I love this.
It's sort of like Meet the Parents,
right?
But worse.
Hook me up.
That seems like a huge contradiction, and I wouldn't step foot inside one of these clinics until I got some major clarification.
Dr. Lieberman, one of Dr. Amen's critics that I mentioned earlier, compared SPECT scans to pseudo-color phrenology.
Many intelligent people were won over by the pseudoscience of phrenology. It was dreamt up by a Viennese physician called Franz Joseph Gall. He said that our intelligence, our moral character, and our personality traits are innate. So whether we're a saint or a sinner, we are born that way. Phrenology was used to justify slavery, colonialism, and the poor treatment of criminals and people with mental health problems.
Daniel Cartlett, who is a professor of psychiatry at Tufts University, told the Washington Post that SPECT is spectacularly meaningless.
Remember when I said that Amen clinics use SPECT scans along with a detailed clinical history?
First you do like a pre-brain assessment. Do you remember how many questions it was?
So many questions.
So many questions. Like
it took 45 minutes.
So it's a lot of questions, but it's, a lot of questions, so it can be very accurate.
This reminds me of psychic mediums. I truly detest anyone who claims to have out-of-this-world abilities, yet charges very earthly currency to perform them.
Many times, psychic readings are given after a client gives a lot of background information about a deceased loved one or about current issues in their life, which can obviously lead the mystic to have a storyline to work with.
I have a very similar feeling with SPECT scans. If you have to fill out a ton of information about your mental health and then your doctor looks at your brain scan, isn't there more room for confirmation bias?
especially when the scans look like this. This is like 480p resolution, and apparently the colors don't mean anything, so what am I actually looking at? Let's compare two of Dr. Amen's patients, Rachel Hollis and actress Anna Lynn McCord. And you may recognize Anna Lynn from a recent viral post where she read a poem that she had written about Vladimir Putin.
Dear President Vladimir Putin, I'm so sorry that I was not your mother.
Anyways, you can see the healthy SPECT scan doesn't say what gender or what age the patient is, so it's very hard to tell what we're actually comparing here. But if you look closely, Rachel and Anna Lynn's SPECT scan looks pretty similar, yet they describe different symptoms. So without the pages and pages of information, it would be very difficult for Dr. Amen to make a true diagnosis just using these scans. And Dr. Amen is very critical of the traditional psychiatric field. He often uses this analogy.
The masses of psychiatrists still are making diagnoses based on symptom clusters with no biological data, exactly like they did in 1840 when Lincoln was depressed. Lincoln was suicidal, went to his doctor. How did his doctor diagnose him? He talked to him. He looked at him. And then he treated him. That's exactly what's happening in 2021. It's insane.
Amen is well aware of his reputation in many medical circles. He told NPR this.
A long time ago, I just stopped listening to the haters. And the fact that standard medicine doesn't love me, well, I don't much love them. So it's sort of fair.
Ugh, not the haters argument again. We've talked about how Amen clinics diagnose its patients, and now we'll talk about how they treat their patients. Dr. Amen claims to believe in a holistic approach to brain health.
He preaches about maintaining a healthy diet and not drinking alcohol.
Alcohol is directly toxic to the cerebellum.
I should stop drinking?
Yeah.
Like stop?
Forever, or like if I'm in a special occasion. I was having breakfast with my boyfriend this morning because he did this too. He was like, you know he's gonna tell you not to drink, right? And I was like, oh, he's gonna tell you not to drink, he's gonna tell you to stop having so much coffee. I was like, you're right.
He also says not to play any sports that can cause injury to your brain.
And I had one billionaire, he goes, but my son really wants to do it. And I've hired this, NFL coach. And I'm like, oh, well, if he told you he really wanted to do cocaine, would you go get him a dealer? Because it's the same freaking thing.
He even says some seemingly healthy events should be off limits or at least extremely limited.
If you're not traumatizing the brain through contact sports, but you're an endurance junkie, you love to run marathons, you run them every year, you do triathlons, you do ultra marathons, you're doing mountain climbing, are these activities good for the brain to put some extreme stress on it, even if it's not physical contact to the brain, or does it long-term hurt the brain?
The scans I have of extreme athletes are not good.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's too much stress.
The one sport Dr. Amen loves to recommend is ping pong. He is like ping pong's biggest fan.
Table tennis, which is just a great brain game.
So my favorite is table tennis.
Gotcha. Like ping pong, you mean?
Yeah. Do you ever play a racket sport?
I played ping pong growing up. So we had a table in the house.
We're at my house. I have a whole room for one.
Really?
Because it's the best brain game.
I have a table tennis coach. And
You
it's
have a
like,
table tennis coach?
I do.
That's right. You played at the national level, didn't you?
I did.
I wonder if this advice is coming from a place of personalized medicine or he's just giving general brain tips. If that's the case, why have a brain scan if you're just going to give out the same information to everybody? And aside from ping pong, Dr. Amen also talks a lot about football.
I knew playing football was bad for the brain, right? I played in high school. I loved playing. I mean, it was like the biggest joy in my life.
Does playing football at a high level cause long-term brain damage?
Former NFL player TJ Abraham said he spent more than $100,000 on treatments suggested by Dr. Amen. According to NPR, TJ was worried he might have CTE, a disease that can't be diagnosed until after death. You may be familiar with CTE if you heard about this case.
A study out today says former football star Aaron Hernandez had a severe form of CTE. The degenerative brain disease is found in people who have received repeated blows to the head.
So what happened to TJ?
And I think what's hard is everything that I've been told may help, I've tried to do. the hyperbaric oxygen. I've done brain therapy, brain rehab, changed my diet, worked out, everything they've asked me to do, I've done. And I haven't noticed a drastic improvement. If anything, I noticed feeling worse.
You've talked about how it was expensive. What's the expense been?
Probably over almost close to $150,000. If you look at hyperbaric, Amen clinics, medicines, supplements, yeah, I'd say almost $150,000.
Out of pocket.
But TJ is not the only one who is told to buy Dr. Amen's Brain MD brand of supplements to help heal their brain.
I want to put you on happy saffron and then focus and energy, something like GABA calming. I'm going to give you all the aminos you need and the protein shake.
Okay.
Memory powder, which was recommended to TJ, is $114 for 30 scoops. So basically a month's supply if you don't forget to take it one day.
To me, this is a huge conflict of interest. You're both doctor and pharmacy.
First of all, supplements aren't regulated for what they claim to do by the FDA. And that may be why you see so many podcast hosts and people with no scientific or dietary background shilling them to you. Brain health supplements alone are projected to reach nearly $6 billion in annual worldwide sales by 2023. The Global Council on Brain Health calls them, quote, a massive waste of money. Also, while I don't consider affiliate programs as bad as the multi-level marketing model, when it comes to health and wellness products, I think it can be a slippery slope. An innocent Instagram post can quickly slide into manipulating a vulnerable person who wants to feel better into buying expensive supplements they don't actually need because you can get a cut of the sales. Another expensive, in my opinion, treatment is the hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
There's a treatment I like to watch called hyperbaric oxygen. We do it in our encino clinic.
Is that
Go in the chamber.
Yeah, okay.
I think hyperbaric chamber would be amazing for you.
The second thing is something called hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Have you ever been in a hyperbaric chamber?
What the F? You get in this, we blow it up for hour and a half, and I want you to do 80 of them. 80 hours of sitting in that? Yep. It's your brain.
According to hyperbaricmedicalsolutions.com, without insurance, the average cost per treatment is between $300 and $450.
I've been alluding to this throughout this video as to why Dr. Amen markets himself in the way he does, and shockingly, I think it has to do with money.
Dr. Amen told the Washington Post back in 2012 that through his various business entities, from books and supplements to online courses, his company grosses about $20 million a year. That's pretty good for a psychiatrist. Back in 2012, a full initial session, including 2 scans, cost about $3,500. According to his website, depending on the type of evaluation you're getting, a deposit of $500 to $1,500 is required to secure an appointment. And they don't bill insurance. You may get some reimbursement, but it's not guaranteed. With policies like that, it seems a lot to me like this business runs like a business and less like a medical treatment center. And why might that be?
Dr. Amen may have caught the entrepreneurial bug from his dad.
Dr. Amen's father, who recently passed away, founded Super A Foods, which is a chain of grocery stores in Southern California. And if you remember the movie with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper called A Star is Born, yeah, that's the parking lot in which they created their masterpiece. And side note about his parents, they were married for more than 70 years and made headlines back in 2020.
88-year-old Dolores Amen was fatigued with a cough. 90-year-old Louis Amen with other health issues had a fever, difficulty breathing, and a cough.
I was worried about him.
But after just a few days, they were well enough to leave the hospital, suddenly clear of COVID-19. They credit their celebrity son, famed psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Amen, with saving their lives. That's because he was able to get them tested for the virus and prescribed hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, and had his mom take it the day before she was taken by ambulance to the hospital, and his dad took it in the hospital.
Dr. Amen often speaks about his mother, and let's just say, an interesting way.
I scanned my mom. She had a beautiful, healthy brain. When I scanned myself, I developed a concept. I wanted my mother's brain. And so I called that brain envy. Freud was wrong. Penis envy is not the cause of anybody's problem.
Well, that's weird. Anyways, did you know you can become a brain expert too without the hassle of going to med school? Dr. Amen can sell that to you too. Why is it always men with questionable, and that's being nice, ethics that are the ones who invent a university using their own name?
According to AmenUniversity.com, you can heal your ADD at home in just 30 days. Wow! You can overcome anxiety, depression, trauma, and grief in just 6 weeks. Amazing! But the thing I'm most concerned about with these classes is the certifications that come afterwards. For just $997 if you finish the course, you can claim you're an Amen Clinic's brain health professional. Yikes. Now, Dr. Amen is not the only person who makes these kinds of courses and claims you'll be certified in something after finishing them, but I have a big problem with someone claiming they're trained in brain health when in reality they've taken an unaccredited online course. Also, it's time to look back at that self-help guru bingo card. Has a course priced with a 97 at the end? We've almost got bingo.
In conclusion, Amen Clinics provide a service that, in my opinion, is overpriced and unnecessary. Traditional psychiatry isn't perfect. In fact, it's got a lot to work on, but the solution isn't to spend thousands of dollars on rainbow drawings instead. Anyone who tells you they have the solution for everything usually has just one big thing: greed. And you don't need a brain scan to diagnose that. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you so much to my patrons, as always. If you like this video, please like it, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.